Hi guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the Cyrus One Cast. Now this amplifier can be found for around £1,300 in the UK. Links will be down in the description below in case you're interested. Now Cyrus Audio also provided me with their one linear bookshelf speakers, and they can be found for around £350 in the UK. Again, links will be down in that fabled description place. Now, I will like to mention something before getting into this video, and I'm sure Cyrus Audio won't appreciate me saying this, but I want to be as honest and as transparent as possible. When I first received the delivery of the Cyrus Audio One Cast and the speakers, I couldn't believe that in the 13 years that I've been doing video reviews, it's the first time I ever received two faulty products from one manufacturer in one sitting. In this case, the Cyrus Audio One Cast wouldn't switch on, whilst the linear speakers, one of the speakers just refused to have an input with my normal receiver that I usually use via Denon. So it was just very strange to see this. However, they did send me a replacement, and the replacement set came in and it worked flawlessly out the box. The reason I want to mention this is because I don't expect a £1,300 DAC and £350 speakers to come faulty out the box. I know this can be completely luck, but I just didn't expect that to happen in one sitting for two different product types. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So the amplifier itself has a glossy front, as you might be able to see over here, and has got two rotary dials. The left hand one is for inputs, whilst the right one is for the volume adjustments. Now they're clicky natures, which is quite nice, and as you'll be able to see, multiple clicks here adjust in terms of volume. Now I barely ever go over around 40 odd percent, however your mileage may vary, but it does get very loud if you do go up to 50 to 60%. I've never gone over that because I've never had to. Now you'll see there's two little dongle antennas at the back, and it's a solid sort of material, metal material at the all around the shell. Now in terms of inputs and outputs, now I'll have to consult my notes because at the back of the amplifier you've got a USB input. The USB input allows a DSD 128 and PCM 32-bit at 192. You've got HDMI ARC optical, which has been running at 24-bit 96. Coaxial, RCA, built-in phono stage for vinyl, and also pre-outs for your via RCA for your amplifier or subwoofer. And you've also got at the front a 6.3mm jack or quarter-inch jack, which is also activated via Class AB amplifier. So it's just worth bearing in mind. Inside the actual Cyrus Audio One Cast, you have got a Class D amplifier, which outputs 100 watts per channel. Also worth bearing in mind, you do get a sleek little remote control. I do like its weight and the size of it. It's also got everything that you'd want. In order to adjust the LEDs over here, it's done via the remote control. You can't do that via the system itself. You do need the remote control in order to adjust that. And it's worth bearing in mind that these LEDs can't be switched off altogether, and when I asked Cyrus Audio about this, they said it's because, well, you need to know what input you're on, and in terms of volume, if you didn't have the LEDs on at all, then you won't know if it's on, and I totally agree with that, and fair enough, but it's just worth bearing in mind that the LEDs will stay on. Now the LEDs on the lowest setting do not bother me whatsoever, and I'm quite sensitive when it comes to the light that's emitting in my room, and in this case they're not there. Now if you do switch off the amplifier, which there's a little button underneath, hopefully my camera picks it up, you'll be able to see the standby light comes on, and then you got that clicking sound as you normally expect from an amplifier. When you do switch it on, it goes via an impedance check. It basically checks for the impedance that's connected to your speakers, so in this case the Cyrus One Linear. It does that every single time it switches on, even if the speakers haven't changed. Going back to the remote control, you've also got controls for Bluetooth. You can switch it on and off over here as well, and you can also switch between inputs versus AV or direct, for example, and you can also adjust the volume or go next or previous, and it does work really well, specifically if you're connected over Bluetooth. So yes, it's also worth bearing in mind that this does have Bluetooth connectivity. It also has a Google Cast. It's also AirPlay 1 and AirPlay 2 compatible as well, so that's great to see. So in terms of connectivity wise, you are spoiled for choice. You've got Wi-Fi and you've got Bluetooth to choose from, let alone the wired inputs that you've got. Also, to give you an idea, the one I'm connected to at the moment is via optical, and that's connected to my PC on my motherboard. So it's just worth bearing in mind, just giving you an idea of my setup. Now, another thing I did want to mention is the fact that the Cyrus One Cast doesn't come with an app. However, you will need the Google Home app in order to set it up on your Wi-Fi network. So it's worth bearing in mind that that is used for setup purposes. You will need that even if you're not going to be using Google services, but just worth bearing in mind. It's also worth bearing in mind that the amplifier will automatically switch off after a certain amount of time. I think it's around 20 minutes of inactivity. It will automatically switch off on its own, which is great because it saves on power and also saves on you forgetting about switching off the amplifier. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth do I have a Google Home Hub? And that is because I want to kind of demonstrate the features. Now, I don't have a multi-room setup. I don't have multiple different speakers. However, when I went to a demo event, or at least a launch event actually, of the Cyrus Audio One Cast, they demonstrated Amazon Alexa, Siri, so Apple, and Google Assistant. All of these are built in to the One Cast and they work flawlessly. The only caveat is that you do need an actual device, as in like a device like this, which you can then link it to the One Cast. As long as you do have one of those three service providers, then you do essentially have a smart amplifier that is connected through all three services. And Cyrus Audio claim that it's the first amplifier in the world to actually have all three services built in, rather than having one or two. Right now the input is on optical, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's on optical. It automatically goes to the casting. As long as you do set it up properly, then it will automatically cast and switch to the casting input, if that makes sense. In other words, if you do want to go from casting back to your normal input, say such as optical in my case, you'll have to manually change that via the rotary dial or via the remote control. It's worth bearing that in mind as well, because obviously using on a daily basis, it's a sort of thing that you kind of quirk that you kind of have to get used to. The cast will always be prioritized over anything else, given the fact that it's the One Cast. You somewhat expect that to be. So I don't have YouTube Music and I don't have a Spotify premium account or anything like that. So when I do say the command, it'll say I can't play this, but I'm going to play it on a playlist. So let's go with it. Hey Google, play Bruno Mars 24K Magic on the Cellar speaker.
Choosing songs is only available for YouTube Music Premium members. But you might like this station, now playing on Cellar speaker.
Okay Google, stop the music on the Cellar speaker. So there you can see it activating and working. I'll probably get copyrighted for it as well for Maroon 5. But nevertheless, it's just great to see how well it responds and how well integrated the One Cast is. As I said before, through the event they demonstrated Siri and Alexa as well with Google, and it just worked flawlessly through different rooms that they had set up. In other words, different locations throughout the room, they had different speakers set up and it automatically played to those speakers which were connected to the device, the One Cast. Now it's worth bearing in mind the One Cast only has a 2.0 stereo output. You can have a subwoofer connected as well, but it's just worth bearing in mind that you only have a 2.0 sound output. So if you have a 5.1 system, like I actually do have on my desk, you won't be able to use that as such unless you use it via a dedicated, another dedicated amplifier, which then you connect the One Cast as a pre-out to your amplifier. So it's just worth bearing in mind that as well. I might not have alluded to the amount of speakers that you get, but yeah, it's only 2 speakers that you can connect. So now I want to give you a sound demo, and in order to do this, I'm actually going to be casting straight from my phone. Now what you'll be able to see is on Power Amp, I've got a Star Wars Cantina band. If I press the cast button, you'll be able to see the devices, or if the camera would focus, that would be great. But the top one says Cellar speaker, so if I press Cellar speaker, it will automatically connect. It's automatically changed the source at the top over there, and when I press play, it should play through the speakers. Now, I don't really want to give you a sound demo of this but I'm going to go to my friend's song and give you a better demo because it's better throughout the frequency range. But I just wanted to show you how responsive it is. Now, my phone is connected to my Wi-Fi network. It's not connected in any way to the One Cast other than being via Google a Google Cast, and you can see it instantaneously responds to play and pause commands.
You should hide, then learn how to fly. It's the only way I know how to play this game to success. I'm not quite sussed it yet. When I reach the brink, don't stop to think. I always think, and now I'm falling.
So overall, what do I make of the One Cast? Well, it's an amplifier, and obviously an amplifier does have its own criteria as to how good or bad it sounds. I will say that I really like its scalability. From £350 bookshelf speakers that I had to £10,000 to £15,000 floor standing speakers that were at the event, the amplifier was able to deal with them. Its impedance adjuster as well is great because it basically adjusts per channel as well and per speaker, which is fantastic to see, and adjusts itself to what system you have. And of course, if you do chop and change a lot and you like testing different speakers, that's great as well because it will have that functionality. In terms of the actual sound quality, again, it's going to depend on the speakers that you have. In my case, from the 6 to 8 ohms, the bookshelf speakers excelled. They've sounded really, really good, and a great instrument separation, good overall tonality, fantastic imaging, no issues whatsoever. In terms of the overall sound frequency, again, nothing to comment about or be disappointed about. It just sounded really nice, really clean, crisp delivery of sound. And when I compared it to my receiver, my Denon receiver, which is relatively old, it really outclassed it, even though it's a smaller form factor and something that you'd think is going to be outclassed by a much larger device. It wasn't the case, although my receiver is a lot cheaper than the One Cast. Now the issue is that do you really need the One Cast? Now if you're someone like me who doesn't really use these connected services such as Alexa, Google and Siri, then you might want to save yourself some money and buy another amplifier, be it from Cyrus Audio to another manufacturer. If, however, you are someone who does like using these services, then I haven't come across an amplifier that really integrates all of these services in one, or does it as well as the One Cast does, because others do offer it via apps or via things like this, whereas the One Cast is out of the box, supports all of them, and doesn't require you to have all of these things. So you obviously have to link the accounts if you want to use them, but other than that, it's pretty much get up and go. I love the fact that it's so simple to use and so intuitive as well, and the fact that everything just works. It's great to see. So there we go, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've got it, or if you're thinking about buying it, or if you've got any questions. I'll try to answer it to the best of my knowledge. If not, I'll pass it on to Cyrus. And again, thanks to Cyrus for actually providing me a loan. This goes back to them, and I'm not sponsored, I'm not paid in any way, completely unbiased. So hopefully you appreciate that, and if you do, definitely do like it, subscribe and favourite and share and all that good stuff. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed, take care and bye bye.